this. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to rumble?
In Europe.
Good evening, everybody. This is Big Bill. Welcome you to Who's Big Bill Talking to tonight. It is Wednesday, November 6, 2019. We're broadcasting live from my train room, the greatest city in the world, Staten Island, New York. Staten Island, New York. Can you believe it's November already? John, where does the time fly? Thanksgiving's the end. Thanksgiving is around the corner. Here we are, and Christmas is around the corner. Anyway, let's get started. Tonight we have with us Who's Big Bill Talking to? I guess tonight, but before we get to that, before we get to our guest, just let me give you guys a heads up. Tomorrow, Thursday evening, November 7th, Train Talk Show with Johnny will be canceled. It will not air tomorrow night, unfortunately, and this is due to personal reasons, family matter that has to be taken care of. So there will be no Thursday night Who's Johnny Talking to Train Talk Show tomorrow night. But we will resume next Thursday, and we will have that show following week. That said, let us get started. Tonight, I had the, as you know, I go through the YouTube videos. I scour them day and night, night and day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year, so that we here at Model Railroading Live can bring you content. And I came across this young man, and I want to introduce you to John Farrington. Hey, John, his YouTube channel is John26182016 and he's a YouTuber, and he's on the YouTube. And now, what attracted me to John, to his layout, and I was going through a bunch of busy layouts, guys with 3-level sections, entire basements. I was like, wow, these guys are interesting. Let me go get these guys. And then the last video I looked at was this. It said John 2618. And I said, let me look at this guy. And I looked at it and I said, in my mind and in my heart, I said, this is the guy I to be on this show to interview him. John, first and foremost, thank you so much taking time out of your busy schedule to come on the show. I'm greatly honored that you were here.
Oh, thank you.
Well, tell us about your layout.
Well, that's it right there. Little shelf.
But okay, it may not look like a lot. But let me tell you, if you go to his YouTube channel, there's a lot packed in there. The other thing that's really good about John is a real good modeler.
Thank you.
I think you are, John. I've been watching, boning up on some of these videos and some of the things you've have been doing. You're with the diesel engine, getting the blank, putting it all together.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, how did you get into model rail? That's the standard question I ask everyone. How did you get into model railroading?
Well, like most others, when I was really young, my grandfather was pretty big into model railroading, so I enjoyed it with him. Then my father built, the standard 4x8 layout in our garage, and then, as I got older, I kind of grew away from it a little bit. My grandfather got sick, and he kind of stopped the hobby for a little bit. So, unfortunately, he passed away. It's maybe been about 10 years now. And afterwards, I just came across a YouTube. I never even thought to look up model trains on YouTube, but I started seeing what people were doing with today's technology and models, and I was just blown away. At the time, I was in school still, down in Florida. Grew up in New Jersey, but I didn't have space for a layout or anything. So I was like a computer model railroader for about 5 years. I just enjoyed the hobby, watching videos and looking at everything that was coming out, but never really got back into it until I'd say about 3 years ago. I started collecting a few HO stuff. I was into N scale for a little bit, just with a small layout. Didn't get too serious with it. But one thing that I really liked was the amount of detail that was kind of present in today's models. So that really attracted me back into the hobby, I think. And this layout really, it just started out as I just wanted to try all the techniques and stuff I saw online. I saw all these people doing all these different things, and it looks it looks easy, but you have to try it. So that's what I did. I just started doing stuff, and it kind of just grew from there. So
now,
yeah.
when you were going to college, what was your major?
Well, I started out. I went to school for architecture. I was going to be an architect. I finished almost about 3.5 years in, and then I started flying, just to get my private pilot's license. And I had that awful gut feeling that I need to change my profession, and went to my parents and decided I was going to go pursue being a pilot full time. So that's what I did. Then I moved to Florida to flight training. I worked as a flight instructor for about 5 years, internships. I mean, I did it all. And, I've been flying professionally now on the private side for about 5 years now. So,
Right. So do you think how long were you studying architecture in college?
well, I got to the point where, you have to get your license and everything. So I got about 2.5, 3 years, I would say, in. And then I slowly started to pull away from it,
Right.
and get into the flying. So
Right. So the question I want to ask though is that, do you think the 2.5, 3 years that you had in the studying, you think that helped you here in model railroading?
maybe, even when I was a little kid, I loved, Legos. I mean, Legos, my parents would joke, I would build entire cities with Legos, everything, cars, planes, everything. So that's another really something with the hobby that I really enjoy is the scratch building. Not so much scratch building, but designing a building and actually putting it or making it come to life.
Right.
So I really enjoy that.
Right. And this shelf layout, what was it? What was its ultimate? I mean, obviously you don't have the room to build
Mm-hmm.
that you'd like to have, and but what has this shelf layout? Now, how big is this shelf layout that you have?
Well, the main section with the valance on the top is only 8 feet long, 18 inches deep. The little section here I built just to add more room for switching. That's only 3 feet. And then this right here is the new section I'm building now, and that's an additional 5 feet. So not much room, but I mean, you could still have a lot of fun, in a small amount of space. And I enjoy the building and the modeling the most. I mean, I do enjoy operating the layout, but I mean, I spend more time at my workbench than I do standing in front of the layout. So.
Well, I have Roger Coleman asked, nice to someone asked, hey, Trains for Brain says, what was his channel name? His channel name is John 2618 and that's the channel you should go to. And for us, I have to say, John, that for a layout of your size, that's what attracted me. And I'm not telling stories here, but that I really did. That day was a kind of a rainy day here in New York, and where I live in Staten Island, and I was catching up on YouTube videos, and actually Sparky came on before you the last time, and then both you guys were on the tech tune-up and getting information and stuff. But then when I was perusing to see who I was getting, I was checking, and I really was going through all these videos, and these guys had these monster layouts. I mean, they were great layouts, and obviously I'm going to check into them. And, guys who I originally had on were doing some new things. And then I came across yours, and I was like, oh, let me see what this guy's doing. And you were doing a switching thing on your layout, and I was like, well, this is pretty interesting, And then when you said, well, this is only 8 feet of a layout, it's a shelf layout, and it's not that big, and I thought for a small layout, it had a lot of action in it, and a lot of things. And then that's when I reached out to you, and and stuff like that. But anybody who's got, and that's the other thing, guys that have major layouts usually have thousands of subscribers. You have this 8-foot layout, and you have 1,500 subscribers.
Yeah, it's surprising to me. I finally decided, unfortunately, I didn't make any videos building the main layout, and I wish I did. But I had no idea really what I was doing. I mean, I just kind of was playing around with stuff, and I didn't really feel confident enough to make videos showing people how to do stuff that I'm just kind of messing around with myself. And then I finally put out a couple of videos, and it got a lot of attention, so I just kind of kept with it. But I mean, I do like the realism side of things. I'm not really big into the railroad industry. I don't know too much about it, so I only go on off of what I see. I'm sure I'm doing a lot of things wrong, but that's okay. I have fun with it. And I don't want to just have track everywhere, and I kind of wanted to add some realism with the style track, the track layout and everything. That's why I made the extension, because I could add more things onto the layout, but I didn't want to just have it all crammed together,
Right.
So we'll see. I mean, I'm still not really sure what I'm going to do with the new part, but I like that. I like to just design it.
Oh, yeah, okay. Grain Express, he says, what's the story behind your channel name? Just curious with the number.
Yeah, so the number, I started I created my YouTube channel, I don't know, 15 years ago, just to watch videos. And 2618 is actually, I was in the fire department. I was a volunteer firefighter for about 8 years when I was growing up in New Jersey. So that was my fire ID, station 26 and 18, and I just used that number for everything. So I probably should change it eventually, but I don't know.
So you basically just gave your password for your banking account then?
No.
So Sparky 107, hello Sparky. Most of us don't, he says, most of us don't know what we are doing and do videos so people can give us advice. LOL. So.
Yeah, it's I really enjoy the people giving me tips and stuff about things on my layout, because I don't have any friends that are into model railroading. I never have, really. It's just my grandfather. So even down here, I live in Florida now. It's just me in here. There's no one ever comes over and operates it with me.
Okay. So all right. So who are your influences when you were watching your YouTube video? Did you have anybody who stood out to you and that you said, hey, this guy looks pretty good, let me do this, or this guy?
I mean, my subscription list is probably 500 long of people.
Right.
Everybody.
Right. Let me do this right now, John, so we can get this. I just wanted to welcome everybody here. Don Rogers is in. Haven't seen Don in a while. Dave from BNSF N-Scale. Hello, Adrian Gadsden. Big Al is in the house. You're running Why Run Naked. He's out there. And who else? Indian Head Valley. What happened? What did I do? Indian Head Valley Railroad. Wilma, what's up? Jason Volk is in the house. Grain Express. Let's see. Come on, Jason Volk. Trains for Brains. This, I think, Trains for Brains, I think, is new to the channel. Yes. Roger Coleman, hello. Let's see. All these guys are here. Eminem Shortline. Good evening. Who's that? Oh, Marty in Australia under an assumed name. That witness protection program must have caught up. Okay, there we go. Plenty of people, Adrian, plenty of people in Florida. I guess he's referring to Monorero. This is sunshine. What part of Florida do you live?
Vero Beach, so it's East Coast, north of Palm Beach. There is a club, I think about 45 minutes south of me. I just haven't gone to it yet. I want to check it out one day. I mean, I have plenty of time off from work, so.
Hastings BNSFN NSCAL modeler says, for a number of subscribers, the channel has some videos have significant views. Very popular videos. Yes.
Thank you.
It says, Grain Express says, John, get with an NMRA division near you. You'll meet a lot of folks.
Yeah, I definitely have to. Definitely have to.
Yeah, definitely. Eric Hall is here, by the way, everybody.
Oh, cool.
You know Eric?
I watch his channels or watch his videos.
AMMRO.com. Channel name, Eric, it's John2618. John2618. Progressive Rail says less is more approach, quality, never quantity. John knows this. And there's a plane at the end of it, so he must be a fellow pilot. You know him? Let's see. I don't usually watch these. Trains for Brains. He says, I don't usually watch these live. Sitting here painting a DPM building, thought I would follow along. Well, welcome along, Trains for Brains. I greatly appreciate you being here. MHO Junction, Lloyd. Hey, everybody. I believe there's a few more guys that came in. Marcel is out there, I believe. Yeah. Hey, MO. Trains for Brains. Thank you. Trains for Brains. You're very welcome. So, John, getting back, just had to do that roll call thing because
no problem.
Want to get everybody involved in it. Eric Hall says he's a subscriber already. Curtis Hunt.
Cool.
Hey, Curtis, C&L Lines is here. Check out, we're talking guys who are joining us late tonight, talking with John Farrington. And John is an HO scale modeler, and he has a YouTube channel called its YouTube channel is John2618, 2618. So if you guys can go over there after, during, or whatever, subscribe to his channel, look him up. I want to say, John, that I saw that tanker car that you bought from Shapeways.
Oh yeah, the trailer.
The trailer, and you really did a great job on there. On painting it and getting it, and even with the trucks, and
thank you. Yeah,
I really go ahead. I'm sorry.
I really like the vehicles too. Working on not really custom vehicles, but taking some of the commercially available stuff and kind of detailing it up a little bit more and stuff like that. I really like that. And that trailer, I've been wanting to build one of those for a while. It's just something no one's really making them commercially. So it wasn't cheap. It was pretty expensive, but
I know. I went to Shapeways because one of the commenters on your thing said, I was going to buy it, but then looked at the price and was like, I wonder how much it was. And I looked at it, and it was a pretty hefty price.
Yeah. Now you could use the different material 3D print. That's just the really, again, I don't know too much about 3D printers, but it's the really high quality print, which saves you a lot of time with prepping it. I mean, you could buy a cheaper, print, but you're going to spend a little bit of time sanding it. And especially since I wanted to try the aluminum chrome, paint, I knew it had to be really smooth. So I figured if I'm going to do it, I might as well just bite the bullet and do it, do it right.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes it's worth the extra money just to get it right the first time instead of, working out the mistakes that, and the details that they, lesser expensive. But, you got to do what you got to
Oh
do,
yeah. Oh yeah.
And stuff like that. But you know what? You got what was they would a couple of things that interest me on your channel. I wanted to explore it with you. What were the hoses? How did you on your
for the unloading the tank cars?
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen that video, please go watch it. But explain to us what it is that you use.
Yeah, so someone in one of my videos, I mentioned that I was looking for a material to use for hoses. And I mean, there's a lot of things out there that look great and work just fine. But I couldn't really find anything that, worked for me in that little spot that I was modeling. So someone commented on one of my videos, check out, bracelet material at Michael's. And I said, oh, okay. So I went over to Michael's, and sure enough, I found something that looked pretty good. And it's 6 inches in HO scale. So it's a pretty large size hose. But it works great. And I got enough to make hoses for, HO scale miles.
Yes.
But it works pretty well. And I put a piece of rod in it so I could bend the hoses.
Right.
And, so they kind of hold their shape, because, that rubber material just kind of springs open. Right. So I figured if I put the rod in there, I could bend it.
What kind of rod? What was the rod that you put? A wire?
Yeah, it's I forget the brand, but it's like 015. It's really tiny, almost like grab iron size wire. And I found that worked pretty good because you could bend it and it kind of holds its shape.
Hold its shape.
So yeah, I mean anything would work.
What did you use at the end of it to make it look like as though the coupler was being, hooked onto the tanker and into the?
Yeah, I used the Walthers, the piping kit. I forget the exact name of it, but it's a cheap, kit from Walthers. They have all different types of piping and couplers on there. And I used that for part of one of the other buildings on the layout, and I just had it laying around. And yeah, it kind of fit in there perfectly, and it kind of looks like a coupler on the hose, so it works.
It did. I have to tell you, that gave me. I went out to Michael's and bought all the bracelet things.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was good. And one of the newer projects you're on to is detailing out a switching engine.
Yeah, I really like this. Switchers, those SW1200s. I've always been a fan of those, just the way they look and everything. And while I was doing an internship up in Delaware, near Philadelphia, that's where I saw those rail serve switchers work in a plant out there. And again, I didn't really know much about railroading back then, but I just always saw those bright yellow switchers work in the plant every time I drove by, going to my parents' house. And I just started looking up more research on it and everything. And this layout originally was going to be that facility, when I was kind of planning it. But I didn't really like how, again, it's a small layout, so I wanted smaller cars. So that's kind of why I picked the corn syrup cars, because I could fit more of them on the layout. And then, I kind of just went over to the corn syrup plant. But yeah, so I really like those rail serve switchers. I think they're cool. They're they're old units, still working today. Work in different industries, and I like that because I didn't really want to have like I like Norfolk Southern and Conrail. I grew up in New Jersey, so I know it's kind of weird.
What people get so did you grow up in?
Somerset County.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, well,
not too far from you.
No.
Yeah.
Just over the bridge.
Yeah.
You got to mortgage your house to get over the bridge, but
Yeah, no kidding.
tolls are outrageous. But
Yeah.
what are the things that what did you do? You bought the blank model of
Yeah, so that was tricky.
undecorated, undecorated.
Yeah, so the original model that I built was a DCC Sound old Proto 2000 model. That was the first locomotive that I've ever built, really. So I stripped it down completely and then tried to detail it a little bit. But then I saw that Walthers was releasing, they were redoing those SW1200s. So I wanted to pre-order one, but I couldn't. For some reason, the undecorated models, they were sold out or out of pre-orders for them. So I was like waiting. I knew they were going to be released like any day. So I just kept watching websites and everything. And I grabbed one from, I forget who I got it from, but they had like 5 of them and they sold out within like probably a few minutes.
Right.
But I can't even find, I was going to buy another one to build another one and maybe sell it or something, but I can't even find any of those undecorated ones. But
Right.
oh well.
Sparky 107 asks, he goes, John, with such limited space, why HO and not N scale? And can you
Good.
expand? Can you expand now, or have to go to N scale to do so?
Good question. I actually have a pretty large collection of N scale stuff. I like I said, when I first got back into model railroading, the HO scale, I wanted to have a big enough layout where I could actually enjoy the trains running. So I was like, okay, N scale works great. I built the layout. It was just in the garage of the house I was renting. But I didn't put any time into bench work and making everything, fit right. So of course the track was never right, and I had a lot of issues. And I don't know if I maybe just associated the N scale with that, like in my head.
Right.
But I still really like N scale. I think that I've actually thought of it a few times, because I'm moving into a house next year, and I thought about doing an N scale layout and taking on the challenge of seeing if I could really detail. There's a lot of great N scale layouts out there, and I know that I would enjoy it just as much as HO. But I don't know, I'm torn. I mean, and then I'll look at this layout and I look at all the detail and I'm like, oh, I really like that. But then I'll look at my N scale collection. I'm like, oh, it'd be nice to run these too. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have both one day. A switching layout in HO and then a larger, N scale layout. I don't know.
Well, there's that. We recently did a show with Don G from Neely Historical Railroad, and just to plug Neely Historical Railroad out there, guys. If you really want to see a great layout, there's a standard gauge HO and a narrow gauge mixed in to this room. And Don G, his father John, Scotty, and Jim, those guys over there, Neely Historical Railroad. You got to check these guys out because they have a low number of subscribers, like only 200. So you guys got to go out there. Wilma, put the word out there. Go watch Neely Historical Railroad. But he does a great job. And John, I can understand, the attraction. First and foremost, with N scale, you get a lot more trackage.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So, Eric Hall, IMRRO says getting out of a tent and into a house is nice. Progressive Rail wants to know, did you do custom work on your figures with the high visible vests?
Yes. So that was something, I forget who I saw. Somebody did that and I saw it in a video and I was like, I wonder if I could get those figures in with those high vis vests on. I couldn't find him. So I figured whoever it was must have painted them. And I was like, man, it's going to be tough trying to paint figures. They're that big.
Right.
So I had some of the Walthers, the new run of their figures, the workers. So I was like, screw it. One day I just primed them and then I just have some, Vallejo paints, and I found some of that high vis yellow. And it really wasn't hard at all. I mean, they're so small that you can't see all the little imperfections in the paint. So I just painted a bunch more. And I think they look pretty good. I mean, it's kind of fun.
Yes.
Doing that.
Adrian Gadsden says, just make sure you don't overdo it and go big with your N scale home layout. Yeah, you know, he has a point there because what we found, talking to N scalers, you know, the compression for the scenery thing, you know, 10 times the scenery gets a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
Trying to, you know, compress and make it, you know, balance.
Yep.
You know.
Like we were talking the other day, and you know, I have a lot of models, a lot of HO models, and unfortunately, they're just sitting in the display case because I can't run them on my layout. So there's a lot of times where I'm just like, man, I wish I could just have something where I could enjoy the trains running, because that's one thing I really like too, is just to sit back and watch the trains, real fan your layout, if you will. But
Right. Well, that's
I
exactly
can't do that. So I mean, living in Florida, I'll never have a basement. You know, I'll have to have a shed like Sparky. So that is a possibility in the future. But so yeah, that's where the N scale stuff. I was thinking, man, I'd love to just watch some long trains run around the layout. It'd be great. And then I'm thinking, well, okay, a big spare bedroom like I have here in a house, I could kind of, you know, make it a little bit more permanent and actually make this a lot bigger, you know, and enjoy it a little more. So
right.
I don't know, I'm torn. But I don't think I'll ever get rid of one or the other. I'll always kind of have both.
Well, if the opportunity presents itself where you can have it, that would be an idea. Like I said, the Early Historical Railroad runs a standard gauge and then an HO3 narrow gauge simultaneously in a layout that is extraordinary. You know, so yeah, it's possible and it's good. Does your layout? Do you have a particular? I know you said earlier Norfolk Southern and Conrail, but do you have a particular name for your railroad? Just right.
I don't. And that was another thing I wasn't sure on. I was like, well, I don't know. Do I want to come up with my own railroad? Do I want to, you know, use one of the class 1 railroads? And then, you know, then you have everybody, you know, saying, oh, they don't do that. They don't do this. And so that's where I kind of got the railser idea. I was like, well, how about I just have an industrial switcher and I could do whatever I want with it, because those industrial switchers are just there and they, you know, they're on private property. They're working most of the time. So that's what I did. And I kind of like that. I mean, I've got three units now. The third one I'm working on. I do have a GP7 that I've been working on for about a year and a half. It's right there in the display case. But I just need to put a new decoder in it, and I think I'll have that running too. So
Grain Express says, what is it about pilots and superb modeling? Yes, you're right. Why run Naked 4? John, any chance you will put a junkyard on your new section? I bet you could really make a fine scrapyard scene.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've been thinking about a couple new industries, or a new industry on the new part. But at the same time, I don't want to overcrowd it. You know, the plan is to have that as kind of like an interchange, and then this sort of have a little more room to switch things around. Maybe squeeze something else in there without making it look too busy.
Right.
But I don't know. I want to have it removable, so it is removable. I'm going to put a little backdrop on it that's removable. So anything that goes on that section, I need to have it so it could be put in a closet or something. So I don't want any really large structures or anything like that. So I don't know. I'm still kind of brainstorming, but we'll see what I come up with.
That's good. Fun. That's very good. Progress Rail, CSX and NS equal X cons.
That's funny.
Let's see. David, BNSF, N scale. If I had my trains in the shed, I would want to sleep in it too. One would break in. Very true, very true. Sparky 107 says, I see some blue in that display case behind you. Sparky's
oh, yes.
Big blue man.
Yeah, me too.
Sparky responds to Dave at BNSFN scale. He says, there'll be a 6-foot couch in my shed. Just saying. Stuff like that. But you're still in the planning stages. Uh, well, and here's a good thing. Maybe you might have a name for your layout. Andy Crawford says someone should totally get a decal made for ex-cons railway. We get into freelancing that. There you go.
That's funny.
I think you just got your name for your layout. Ex-cons. Ex-cons. Yeah, ex-cons railroad. They get. And I know a guy who can make up decals for you.
I do need some decals made up.
There you go. So there you. But see, you're right in the right place at the right time for this because, you kind of like, you've had an interest in model railroading, and now you kind of put this thing together, and you've done a really fabulous job, man. I have to say, John.
Thank you. Yeah, it's
was and the fact of the matter is, you keep saying, well, I was never really into it. And I really don't know that much about the layout and railroads and stuff. And I just watch other people's videos. But it's amazing how much you can learn and how you can learn.
You can learn anything on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. Trust me when I tell. Yes, you're absolutely right. I just did a whole. Being retired, I just learned the whole thing. I just learned how to use my speed square correctly. Figured out all the notches on my speed square, and I've been like going to people's houses and asking if they want me to do their roofs, truss angle cuts and everything now because, me and Speed Square are like traveling.
Well, it's funny because I'm a pilot. So the airplane that I fly, I is available in a lot of these flight simulator games. And I'll just like come across a video of the type airplane I fly and some 12-year-old walking through a startup checklist and procedure. And I'm like, this guy's doing exactly what he should be doing, better than some of the guys I've flown with, probably just from watching YouTube. So it's pretty hilarious.
Yeah. It's funny you should mention that. I just subscribed to this guy, this carpenter, master carpenter, and I downloaded his videos, and I'm starting to build these professional. I started this today, building these professional grade sawhorses.
There you go. YouTube professional.
Yeah, he built them, and I'm doing it down in my basement because I have all this extra lumber downstairs. And just make the story quick, and the guy, after he built them, he did a load test on them. He went to the local lumber yard where he gets his lumber from, and they loaded up on the two sawhorses 10 tons.
Jeez.
And it held. So my wife is like, you think you could? I said, I'm lucky if it can just hold up a 2x4. That's all I want. I'm going to hold 10 tons. But let's get back to model railroad. But this engine that you're working on, I see that you're putting in. I mean, this is what I love, the fact that you're the kind of guy that, hey, I really liked it, but I never was really interested in it, and then I was not in it, and I remembered my grandfather. And then you got into it, and like now you're doing all this kind of like some of this stuff that you're doing. It kind of like people stay away from doing stuff like that because they get like nervous,
Yeah, it's definitely intimidating.
Fearful. I mean, I know I do. I'll admit that. I will definitely admit that some of the stuff that you try, like I would never think to, cut open the shell of the end. I just wouldn't. Right now, level is not there. But I admit I admire the fact that you jump right into it, 2 feet right into the mud puddle, wearing that white communion suit.
Yeah, I mean, what's the worst that could happen, right? I just buy a new one, or it's just plastic. So I really like that guy, that KV. I think that's the KV models, or his etch metal parts are really nice. I mean, actually today I just finished painting the new model, the yellow. I still have to do the black and everything on it, but it's coming out really well. It should be another nice addition to the layout.
Yeah,
and especially
really.
with the sound and everything.
Sparky says, I hope my new layout is half as good as yours, John 2618.
Oh, thank you.
And it should still be amazing. Adrian Gadsden, you could learn, but doesn't make you a master at it. This is true. This is true. This is true. I'm a jack of all trades, Adrian, and a master of none.
There you go.
Most everything I cannot find any instructions for a flux capacitor. I need one. Would love to rail fan in the 50s. I had my flux capacitor, but I lent it to my neighbor, and I haven't seen him for a while. I don't know. Andy Crawford wants to know, are you a pilot? I must have. Yes, Andrew. He is a pilot. Licensed pilot. Commercial. Grain Express. I really love his black weathered tanker with the rust on top. How'd you do that?
Black weathered tanker with the rust on top. I'm trying to think which one he's talking about. If it's one of the corn syrup cars, maybe. Yeah, I like to use a little bit of everything, to be honest, with the weathering, from weathering chalks to oil paints, which I've really gotten into recently, acrylic paints, airbrush. But depending on which one he's talking about, I kind of do a little bit of everything. A lot of times I use a sponge, and I'll make kind of like a 3D rust using acrylic paints using the sponge, and then coming over them with some AIM weathering powder or something just to give it a little bit of bite, a little bit 3D look.
So glad you said AIM weathering powder and not hand. You run naked for Andy Crawford. Flux capacitors have no longer manufactured. They contain mercury and have been banned by the EPA. Sparky wants to know what is your favorite spot on your layout? You have a favorite spot?
Favorite spot would have to be the little ADM transfer facility that I built, just that little building. It doesn't take up a lot of room, and I built that just from looking at pictures on the internet. So I completely scratch built that, and I don't know, that's kind of like, it's right in front in the center of the layout, so it's kind of my favorite. And the second, I think, is that big green building, just because that is built from scratch too, and somehow it's still standing and looks somewhat good. But
what is that big green building?
I don't know. I mean, here in my town, there's a old power plant, and it's that color. And I was like, oh, it looks cool. Like, it's just like, I don't know. I just like the color of it. It looks like industrial. So I found a spray paint from Walmart or something and painted it that. But it's just supposed to be, in my head, part of the older part of the facility that's there. It's kind of run down.
Right.
So it's got a little bit of an elevator, I don't know, to unload something, maybe sugar or something like that. And you could spot a car.
Oh, okay. What era is your railroad set in? Do you have one?
So, no, I would say modern, just because all the equipment is kind of modern. But I do like, I like Conrail. So I have one of those Rapido locomotives coming. So I definitely want to run that on there. But it's not really tied to any era. But it's modern, I guess you'd say.
Okay. Adrian Gadsden says, when we were talking earlier about being nervous, he said, nervous? This isn't brain surgery, just trains and models. Also plastic trains and models. And you're
There you go. No lives are at risk.
No. You're absolutely correct. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. It's a confidence thing with me. I'm trying to work on it.
This hobby is my stress reliever. So,
aviation
is not, it's stressful. So when I come home, although my new job now is like stress free, but when I come home, I like to just sit down in here and just work on something. I love it.
Isn't it amazing? You could be going through something, trying to make this critical decision, and you go in your layout room or your trains, and you work on something. Then you come outside and you tell your wife, you know that thing that we've been discussing. Well, solution to it,
Oh
and
yeah.
you know, Smoggy wants to know what was the hardest part for you to construct on your layout.
The hardest part. Well, to design it, to be honest, for a few reasons. I want it to be a shelf. So it's actually it's all hidden by the backdrop, but it's just those vertical shelving brackets from Home Depot that you could slide the little shelves into, the brackets.
Right.
So you can see in the top, I've got them all level. So there's a row of brackets at the top, a row of brackets at the bottom, and I want to design it so the backdrop could slide in. So those shelves could actually just be lifted off. They're not even mounted. And the backdrop has these pins, these little like 1x1 pieces of wood, and it's kind of being held back against behind the shelves. So I'd say that was the biggest part, was getting it up, deciding on a construction method where it didn't look like, it was just thrown together. I wanted it to look nice. So that was kind of like the way to get the layout up. I was telling my wife, I was like, well, it's not going to be just plywood on the ground. It's going to look kind of nice. So
yes, we have to absolutely get
and now she loves it. She brings everybody in here. She's like, look what he did. Like, she's like, I don't get it. He comes in here and he does this, I don't get it.
I can't get him to do the dishes. What's up? What is it? Sparky, again, he wants to know, what is your pride and joy locomotive or rolling stock that you have?
Let's see. So far, it must be probably the Bush locomotive, just because Air Force One is painted like Air Force One, and that's kind of like an iconic airplane. What else? Actually, I have an old.
You have that George Bush?
Yeah, it's up there. I have a new display case coming. I've got a lot of stuff that's just sitting in boxes, but it's up there in the box. But to be honest, it's probably my original. In that display case, there's a old blue box monorail GP38 that I've had since I was, it's probably my first locomotive. So that's probably the most precious one to me. It's the first one I've ever had. And one day I plan on maybe because it's missing a lot of parts and it was thrown in a box for probably 15 years. So one day I'd like to kind of restore it a little bit and hold on to it.
You Run Naked Force says he has a good suggestion here, actually. He says one thing that John, that you can do to make your layout look really fantastic and much better is, in my opinion, would be to move it to my house. Yes.
That's funny. Yeah, one day, who knows?
Andy Crawford wants you to know that it's very cool, John. He says, I myself am working on my private pilot's license, but I've just I just got a few hours in so far. Best way to railfan I found yet. Flying, sure.
Oh yeah, there's let's see, coming into Midway, Chicago. One of the runways comes right over the yard. I think it's BNSF maybe, or Union Pacific. There's a huge yard there, so it's funny whenever, if I'm not flying, I'm always like looking down, coming over the fence.
Well, Grandpa Rails just joined us and hi all, late to the party. Well, welcome, Grandpa Rails. Just to give you an update, we're talking with John Farrington, and his YouTube channel is John2618. John is a HO scale model railroader, and he has an 8-foot length of a layout, a shelf layout, which is 18 inches in depth and 8 feet long. And we were just talking about all the things that he's been doing. If you get a chance, Grandpa Rails, go check out his YouTube channel, John2618. And welcome to the channel. I don't think you've ever been here before. So welcome to the channel, and welcome to Model Railroading Live and Who's Big Bill Talking to. Progressive Rail wants to know, do you have plans on opening up a Shapeway shop with all the files you have for vehicle modifications and details?
Well, a lot of some of the stuff that I've purchased, I didn't design, but a few of them I did. So I do have, I think I have there's a video of one of the beds that I had designed and had it printed, and it works pretty well on a Walther's truck. So yeah, I've thought about it. I haven't really looked into it too much, but I've got a few other files that I have converted from actually like a video game that I used to play. I used to design stuff on the computer for the video game, and I realized that I could just import that file into Shapeways and then scale it and print it. So I've got some other stuff that I'd like to try to print and design. So yeah, that's possible.
Well, I'm sorry, John. What was that?
So
Yeah, I see it. I have these other questions. Adrian Gatson says we should watch military model guys, masters at weathering. We could learn a lot from those guys. Adrian, I'm so glad you brought that up because I am in the process of trying to get some military model guys on here, especially one guy from Germany. And we're working out trying to find a translator. Definitely want this guy on, but you're absolutely correct.
yeah,
These guys are like top of the line when it comes to weathering and how they go about doing it. You know. Let's see. Eminem, you said, right, John? Oh, we have so many other questions. I didn't. Eminem, I live and work. Eminem Short Line Railroad, I live and work at a CSX yard. Grandpa Rails, you're going to have to do a video. Oh, okay. I think somebody is. Grandpa changed his name, I think. Sparky 107, 107. John, so are you flying into Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania on May 16th through the 17th? If so, bring many Florida modelers.
I plan on going. My parents don't live far from there, so I'm trying to make a trip out of it where I could come visit my parents and come over there. So yeah, it's pretty possible I'll be going. Very possible.
May 16th to the 17th, Sparky is sponsoring another Let's Get Together YouTube modelers, railroad modelers in Strasburg, Pennsylvania at the Pennsylvania State Train Museum down there in Lancaster County. If anybody's interested in being a part of this and seeing other YouTubers out there who create content for model railroading, get in touch with Sparky at Sparky 107 107 on his channel. He would be more than happy to give you the details of what is coming. That's May 16th, 17th in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. That's the Lancaster County area, Amish country. So much to do down there. The Stroudsburg Railroad is down there, as well as the Pennsylvania State Train. So he's got a lot of things that he's working on to make it a very good. If his Steamtown experience was good, this will be greater. John Dilly is Grandpa Rails. Well, you son of a gun, John. Changing your name like that and not letting me know and welcoming you. Well, anyway, John, welcome to the channel. You came late, but I hope. John, he says he's sorry. BNSF and then Scale says he's sorry if he blew his secret away. But Sparky says already we have 69 people signed up on the sign-on video, so check it over. Let me see if I can get back to some of these questions because they look pretty interesting. M&M Short Line. Hello, John 2618. That is the Chicago Belt Hump Yard that you pass over when you're landing at the airport, and a CSX modal yard right next to it. So now you know if you fly into Chicago what it is. Thank you.
Now I know. Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah. Let's see. I live in where. So M&M Short Line Railroad. I live and work at the sea. We have to have you on M&M Short Line channel. Why are you laughing, John? Oh, okay. Yeah. Eric Hall says, I knew a B-52 crew that would plan missions to follow train lines they wanted to see. It,
That's funny.
it would be like cool look. It would be cool to look at those trains. I'm sure the guy in the trains was like, "What the? That is a B-52 bomber following or bombing us." Yeah. Uh, let's see. Man, Eric Hall says, imagine if a train crew was an Air Force plane fanatic. That would be like a win-win situation. Uh, Sparky once again wants to know, John, what made you fall in love with Conrail? And is it the love for Big Blue, or not just a lust you closet closest rail fan, but you closet rail fan?
Well, I grew up in New Jersey, so when I was growing up, all I saw was Conrail. That's when I was a kid. That's the only railroad I thought existed, to be honest, when I was little, because it was all just Conrail through where I lived. So that's kind of the main reason why.
Yeah, I had a friend. I had a friend, Walter Moraldo, back in the '80s. He was a conductor on Conrail, and we were able to go under the Jersey Turnpike where the yard was, and to the Conrail yard. It was very fascinating to listen. They were on call. He'd have to call in every day, and they automatically the computer would say your number like 200 on the list, and then as each day went by, then they would say you're number two on the list, and then he'd get the call. And when he get the call, he would go to work, and he wouldn't come back for like a couple of days.
Jeez.
That's because he was like new. So yeah, I saw a lot of Conrail in Jersey and stuff like that. And when I go down to the model railroading shop, there's a Norfolk Southern and CSX go by there down in Denellen, New Jersey,
Oh yeah.
northern part. So and stuff like that. So it's pretty interesting. What was I going to say? I was going to say. Let's see. Progressive rail track plan yet for new extension structure scenery. Ground airlines for stored cars, smaller hoses. He wants to know if this is any plans, track plans for the new extension, any structures, any scenery.
I don't know yet. It's going to be very simple. It's just going to be a couple tracks, mainly just for an interchange. And I think I'm probably going to incorporate a little bit of a photo backdrop like I did previously. I think I found one that I could use to kind of blend into the structures there. So probably a little bit of that.
Well, you're not going to get so, involved in this thing because, like you said, you're moving.
Exactly. That's just me though. Like everything I do, I just gotta
You
go
got
out
to
of
do
control with, because that was just supposed to stay wood. I ended up putting scenery on it. This, I was thinking I'm just gonna leave it, raw wood, but no, I got to do something with it. And even if I finish it the day I move out, oh well, this gave me something to do. Because
so
like,
you do everything to the 10th degree.
yeah, it's a lot of hobbies I've had are all expensive, but this is the most rewarding. I think I've had the most fun with. I have a car that I used to be in the car. The car just sitting in the garage for the past 2 years. Got to sell that eventually, but
What kind of car?
uh, 2003 Celine Mustang.
Oh,
Yeah, that's was like the car I've always wanted since I was like in high school, and I picked it up a few years ago, and I don't know, it just sits. So someone else needs to enjoy it. Need to sell it.
yeah, very true. Adrian Gaston says when I was mentioning about when I got into the yard, Conrail, Jersey, back in the '80s, he says those were the wild, wild west days of the yards. Anybody could get in a yard. I know since my dad worked at the old Southern Railway in Atlanta, he brought me along all the time. Yeah, many things have changed since post 9/11. You know, stuff you can't just readily walk in. I know when I worked for the Transit Authority, you could just do that too, and But now today it's like 40,000 guns, 40,000 people show up every thing. Sparky 107 wants to know what radius curves do you use in the corner? Can you go smaller, or wish you went bigger?
Well, there's nothing down there yet. But to be honest, I don't even know what the radius is. I kind of just have it, pulled across. It's probably like 24 inches or something like that, I would say.
You ran naked, John. You have to put a date on your modeling, or is it always in the present day, or have you ever considered a time period for it?
Yeah, I don't know. I would say just like today. It would be like out there today. But I don't know. A lot of the I say that just because a lot of the rolling stock is kind of new. The locomotives are obviously old, but rail serve uses older locomotives, so that's one reason I kind of like that there too. But there's nothing really tied to a specific date on the layout, which I kind of like because I can maybe run some Conrail stuff in there and
Yeah,
absolutely. Like so
what is the old saying? It's my railroad. I'll do what I want with it.
There you go.
I mean, you're always going to get the critics, that are going to tell you this is what. But you're really on the cusp of you got a house coming. Obviously, the move is going to be you got to pack, and that in itself is traumatic. But then once you're settled into your new home, and you've determined, have you picked the home out, by the way, or are you still looking?
We're still looking. We'll see. There's a couple other things I'm looking for. But we'll see. I mean, we've got another about 8 more months on the lease here and decide if we're going to renew again, or I'm tired of renting. So we'll be buying a house eventually. And I've been waiting for job to kind of settle down. So I just changed to a new job a few months, maybe about 6 months ago. And my owner lives here in Florida, so I'll be tied to Florida.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. So you have so yeah. All right. So when you look at your house, you'll be able to, determine that extra room or that,
Yeah. Let's see what I want to do. I mean, whether I kind of continue this layout and expand it or start something fresh, I don't know. We'll see. But I'm excited for it either way.
But we're excited. I am. I'm looking forward to watching your transition and your travels to the new and your modeling skills as we go forward with this because I really do, John. I think that you do really good work, and I'm not saying that to blow up your skirt, as I famously say to everybody I meet when I talk to them. But I think you really do really good work, and I think you're really on the verge of like. I think that you put a lot of well thought into it, and and I think that it's going to be one fantastic layout.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
With your modeling skills and with your fearlessness to say, "Hey, let's try this. Let's do this." I think it's going to work. And if it doesn't work, you're going to, get out and put it in.
My problem is I have too many ideas. Right? I sit in a hotel room when I'm working for a few days, and I just think of all these things I want to do. Come home, start one thing, think of 3 more things, and so I'm like, my brain is all over the place.
I would like to tell you that's unique, but it's not because that's watching right now, and I myself included, will tell you that my bedroom is right next door to this, and I'll be sleeping or I'll be in bed thinking, and I'll say, "Oh yeah," and I get up. I mean, and I change the whole thing here one day at 2:30 in the morning. I got up and started, dremeling out the track and cutting everything. And my wife got up and she's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I have to take." So you're not alone in that,
Oh, that's good.
You know, Sparky says by the time he gets home, all his ideas are gone. LOL. I think he said Adrian Gasson says you're your own Warren Buffett, so do what you want with your own railroad. Very true.
That's true. And that's the best part of it,
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Sparky wants to know. Sparky, I can answer that question. I'll give it to him. Just this once. He wants to know: do you have any wigs to wear in any live streams? Just
I
a fun
don't.
to see your reaction. LOL. When people, I have to say, I appreciate everybody putting their ideas up here. But wouldn't it be better to say HA, haha, than lol? I mean, think about it. It's just something to ponder, LOL, or haha. I don't know. That's for another time. That's for my other political station that I'm working on. Let's see. Progressive Rail wants. Be honest. You look at a lot of Lance Meinham's shelf layouts before building yours. You should stream on Twitch while working on your stuff. Have you ever? You know who Lance Meinham
I
is?
did, and that I probably came across his article in Model Railroader right around when I started getting back into the hobby. So I would say, yeah, definitely a big influence. And Mike Confalone's winter scenery and the way he models the winter, that gave me the idea to model winter, because that's when I think of model trains, I think of Christmas with my grandfather, and it was the best times ever with him during the wintertime working on his railroad. So that's why I chose the model winter.
Yeah, but that's a very good and very endearing remembrance, and gives honor to your grandfather.
Yeah, I really wish he was still around. He'd love this.
I'm sure that he's looking down on you and giving you the thumbs up, John.
There we go.
You're doing great.
Cool.
You're doing great. Do you Yang? Yeah. Why run naked for once in a while? Do you model when you're away while you're away at work? Take a small briefcase of modeling supplies and hotel room.
I've thought of it. I've thought about it. But my new job now, I'm gone for a couple of days and then I'm home for a while, and very blessed with this new job. I have a lot of time at home. Clearly, too much time at home, where all I do is sit in here and mess around
and build tremendous layouts and do modeling.
Yeah, when I'm on the road, I usually do a lot of thinking and planning. So I'll be online the whole time. Just, I could do this. I need to order all this stuff, so when I'm home, I could have a project to work on. That's usually what I do when I'm away.
M&M Shortline Railroad wants to know. He says, John, how much of a challenge is it to you as a pilot to land at Chicago Midway, small but surrounded by residential neighborhoods?
Well, Midway, it's not so much an issue of the airport being small. It's just the congestion. You got O'Hare, you got Midway, you've got Palwaukee, which is a private airport north, and a lot of traffic, high, very fast paced. They want you in and out, in and out, in and out. So, and not to mention the weather's always, in the wintertime, it's not fun, but it is challenging.
Have you ever flown to Hong Kong?
I haven't. I spent this summer was in Africa for a week and Italy for another week. That was the biggest trip I've done in my airplane. So we took my boss over to Italy. We did some work down in Africa, which was amazing, on the Serengeti. It was so cool.
Yes. Progressive Rail wants to know how does it work being a sign pilot versus a co-pilot?
Well, it just depends. There's captain and first officer, depending on the operation you do. So the operation I do, I work for a private company that has a corporate airplane. So for us, it's just two captains who is responsible is we switch it every other flight. We just switch.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. The reason why I asked about Hong Kong is that my brother.
The old Hong Kong, the
Right,
yeah,
you'd actually fly into.
yeah. You fly to the mountain and then you turn.
Then turn.
Yeah, that's no longer there for
Yeah.
a lot of reasons, but yeah, that's classic.
Yeah, they
Crazy,
have a big
crazy.
black and white checkerboard painted on the side of it.
The worst airport to go flying privately in corporate is Teterboro. That is
Really?
the worst. Teterboro is the worst. It's like JFK for private airplanes, and it's the size of a postage stamp. It's tiny. So that's the worst, Teterboro.
Teterboro. I always read that in my spy novels that the CIA uses as their jumper. Anyway, thank you so much for being a part of the Who's Big Bill Talking To tonight. It was a great pleasure and a great honor.
Oh, I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
Good. Guys, check out Progressive Rail wants to know, do you get flyer miles?
Nobody get a lot of hotel miles or hotel points. That's why I bought all my toys is with hotel points.
There you go. Anyway, thank you so much for being on, being a part of this model railroading community, and glad to have you aboard, John. Bright,
Oh, thank you.
bright new interest in everything that you're doing. Guys, go check out John2618, his YouTube channel. Also, go check out Neely Historical Railroad. Yeah, I'm plugging him. Somebody show him some love out there. Show him some love. Come on, Wilma, get on the case here. Do a special for Neely Historical. And again, John, thank you so much for being a part of this. It really was an honor to have you on.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We'll definitely be checking you out and and stuff like that. Just to give you guys a heads up out there, tomorrow on Thursday, the 7th of November, there will be no Johnny's Train Talk show. This is due to personal and family matters that need to be taken care of. We will be back next week, though, so you guys can pull up a chair, come mosey on down at John's train room, the corner store there, the general store, pull up a chair, talk about model railroading. So until then, thank you very much for joining in. For those out there watching, without you, we'd just be talking to dead air. So take care, God bless, and we'll see you guys on the radio.